Alright dudes, Sony's first true PS5 exclusive, Returnal, has finally come out and it looks incredible. Through some divine luck I was able to get my hands on a copy at a fair price, and I've been playing it on and off for the past few days. Originally I wasn't going to do a video on the game, but as I was exploring the first area in an attempt to practice and learn to play the game a bit better, I discovered this giant Play-Doh mold monster kit thing. It was asking for 6 Ether to activate. Now, Ether is the currency that stays with you after you die. It's a very rare currency in the game as well. So it was asking for 6 pieces, which is quite a lot, and the device offered no description on what it did. But curiosity had got me interested. I had to know what this device did. So after getting the 6 pieces, I used the machine and it closed on Celine, the playable character. And nothing happened. She stepped out and nothing was different. Oh, what a jip that was. So it was late at night at the time, so I thought I'd just suicide run the boss. I've been trying him a few times and I just kept losing. Again, I had my arse handed to me and I died, but instead of spawning at the start like normal, I was revived at the Play-Doh mold with all of my equipment and stats that I found in that run. Sadly, the boss's health regenerated back to what it was before I fought it, but you know, that was somewhat different. I wasn't expecting that in this game. I didn't think there was a respawn point like that. This is one of Returnal's greatest strengths in my opinion. It's great at making me wonder what's next, what certain stuff does, and what new rooms I'll find. There's even a random item that just teleports you into a random room. Normally leads to bonuses, or that one occasion where you gotta fight a giant boss monster, which is pleasant. And this is kind of why I'm doing this video. If my friends or viewers get a PS5 at some point, they'll eventually check out this game. Now, despite how this video started, this is not a review. I'm not far enough in the game to give a review. This is just a collection of thoughts I got based around the first area, as there's quite a lot to unpack in that first area. For those that don't know, Returnal is a third-person shooter with roguelike, bullet hell and psychological horror elements thrown in. Now there is a lot of words thrown together, and surprisingly it does describe how the game feels. It oozes these genres the moment you switch the game on. Just so everyone's on the same page, for those that don't know, roguelike is a genre that involves running through randomly generated levels, finding upgrades that are rarely permanent, and fighting through bosses that you will die on to reach the end point of the game. Once you die, and trust me, you'll die a lot, you'll start from the beginning with very few of those upgrades you found, and the rooms reshuffled into different orders. Now this is normally done to add more playtime and relieve some work for the small development teams of normally 1 or 2 people. AAA games don't normally have that issue, and thus the genre is rarely used in AAA games. Roguelikes are normally in the realm of indie games with your Bindings of Isaac and Hades. Both excellent games that I recommend trying. Returnal has all of that jazz, but instead of the rooms being randomly generated, it's normally the placements of the rooms that shift. There are handcrafted rooms in the game, but I think some are randomly generated. Don't quote me on that. I think they're all handcrafted, but you know, there might be an occasional random one. There are upgrades as well that come in 2 forms. Alien artifacts and parasites. The artifacts are just straight up normal upgrades. Some add more health, enemies explode on death, weapons fire other shots as well as the basic. You normally find them in the world or you can buy them. There are also parasites, aliens that attach to your suit. They add a buff and debuff to your character, like you receive more health from pickups but your dash takes longer to cool down, stuff like that. There's also a dreaded debuff from malfunctions that can be caught from certain items that affect the Celine in a negative way. Malfunctions are pretty easy to remove, to be honest. You do the tasks that it requires you to do, like kill a certain amount of enemies, or you can use an item in the game to remove them. The third person shooting is also excellent. Celine is as fast as Doomguy in this game and even borrows his dash move from Returnal. I know dash has been in other games, but I just chose that example. The shooting is rather interesting. The adaptive triggers on the controller are set up so that the left trigger is 2 buttons in one. Hold it down half right and it aims like any other gun in a typical third person shooter. You name it, like Gears, Last of Us, all of that. But if you hold it down fully, it allows you to fire an alt fire mode, which can be a sniper shot or a barrage of bouncing balls or even a missile launcher. It can be a little funny to use at first, but it's really nice once you get used to it though. The guns feel alright. I kind of wish there were a bit more to them, but they're pretty good for what they are. And despite how fast Celine moves, the developers have made it so I'm getting some pretty decent shots in the enemies. It can be hard to hit them because you're moving that fast, but I'm not struggling too hard. I'd love to see this game in action with keyboard and mouse though. That would be interesting. See how reaction times and everything change over with that. But my main gripe is that I don't think there are too many weapon types. Again, I'd like to mention I'm in the first area, so this could change, but all I found is an assault rifle, a shotgun and a pistol. You can only hold one of these weapons at a time sadly, so I'm worried this is all the game will offer. I know you got the alt fire mode, but you're not constantly using them because of the recharge stuff. You're using them primary fire methods, so you know, can be a bit boring after a bit with that. Returnal is one of the few shooters that stacks up to Doom Eternal's gameplay due to its arcadey influence. You'll be jumping, dashing and running all over the room to avoid enemy fire, but the guns you use kinda get repetitive due to the fact that you can only hold one at a time. I think if they gave you a second one, it would feel a bit better, but it might break the game. I'm not too sure on that. It's not bad, it's just my personal opinion on that. The enemies I've encountered are cool. They're not just some dude with a gun. The enemies are based around bullet hell shooters. You know, the games with the spaceships flying through the air and loads of stuff is being fired at them and you gotta dodge it. You get that with the older consoles and stuff like, especially the SNES and Genesis in particular. Or if you want a more recent example, you got Nier Automata, where some of the bosses have that bullet hell thing, or even the flight sections thinking about it. Returnal's developer, House Marquee, which I assumed I probably butchered, are experts in the bullet hell genre and have been making games in the genre since the 90s. I've been playing one on the PS Vita called Super Stardust Delta, I believe it is. That is also a rather fun arcade game that I recommend. So it's no surprise Returnal's enemies are based on bullet hell enemies. There are different multicoloured beasts that all do different stuff. There are the blue dogs that are your basic enemy and either scratch or fire bullets at you. There are these giant monsters that chase you across the room, flying monsters that bash into you or fire a giant laser at you. And that's just in the first area. I haven't described every single one of them, that's just the basic idea. Like Doom Eternal, each enemy has like a higher priority over another one. You know, kind of like chess. So it's kind of, do you take on the monster chasing you while avoiding bullets from the smaller ones? Or do you fight the flying enemies trying to bash into you while avoiding range attacks from other monsters? Talking about the aesthetics of the game now, it is incredible. It looks like a mashup of the colours and monsters of the Netflix film Annihilation, but also this kind of tech grunge and storytelling style that you associate with someone like the Alien films. Prometheus comes into mind in particular with part of its storytelling. Yes, I know people don't particularly like that film, but I like its aesthetics and attempt at storytelling. There's something there, but the execution was botched. It wasn't a terrible idea, but I think they just didn't do it well. But yeah, back to Returnal. There is an interesting story going on as well. It's not only based around the world of, I'm going to butcher this, Atropos, but the character of Selene herself. You'll find this out in the first few minutes of the game, but if you want to skip some spoilers, go to this time on screen now. Okay, we're good. Selene is an explorer for the Astra Corporation. She ignored orders to explore the planet Atropos for this white shadow signal, and sadly she crash lands on the planet and is cut off from the Astra Corporation. As reasonable as it can be, she decides to explore the planet and find that signal. She eventually comes across a corpse in a suit like hers, and it turns out it's her corpse. After that, Selene gets attacked by a monster and eventually dies. But during her death, she begins to see strange visions of tentacles and this old school astronaut thing. And then she wakes up outside her downed spaceship. She realises that she's in a cycle. I haven't got far in the story, but I'm not saying anything else beyond that. Returnal's premise is what got me interested, and mastering its arcadey gameplay is why I'm staying around, but I haven't really fully gone through it yet, thus being this a preview. Returnal does have a few issues. There's no saving in game. You do get to keep a few select upgrades, but when you die, you start the game from the beginning, no matter how far you are. You can do stuff like put the PS5 in rest mode and pause the game like that, but that's it. If something like your games crash, which has happened to me by the way, or the power goes out, you have to start the game entirely again. I got to the second area just recently and it crashed on me, so I gotta start again, and I've heard it happen to a few people online. Returnal doesn't seem to value the player time, and while I'm in the middle when it comes to the good old difficulty arguments, I am against any product wasting your time. And in the modern world, time is a precious thing. If you can only play for an hour a day, I'd straight up say don't buy this game, at least for now. I've heard the developers are listening to fan feedback and are planning to do something about this, so hopefully you might be able to experience the game. At the time of this video's launch, I've heard that there should be a new patch that have came out, so hopefully that will fix everything. I don't know. As long as it fixed the crashing, I think I'll be okay with that, but I wouldn't mind if there was some form of saving, not only just for me, but just so people can experience this game properly without having to worry about, oh, I gotta go to the dentist, or I gotta go to work, or, you know, something like that. So far, I do recommend this game. It's great for the sadist Dark Souls fans, but I can also see this being a great game for a lads' night. You know, something like getting pissed and taking turns, seeing who gets the farthest in the game could be something interesting. But there isn't anything here that makes me say, yeah, this is a £70 game. I want to point out, this is different from the $10 argument, because for the UK, it's an extra £30, not 10. So that's a lot, and a lot of money. That would be equal to nearly $100. Could you see this being a $100 game? No, I can't really. Especially compare it to something like Doom Eternal, as I said earlier, which is just as detailed, just as fast, and it's on PS4 base models at 60 frames. So, you know, it's up to you. I found it pretty cheap, but I had to go out my way to look for it. But as this is a preview as well, my opinion can change. I could, at the end of this game, turn out, yeah, this is worth £70. But I could say, no, this game is complete garbage. Although I doubt it at this point, but, you know. If people want a full-on review, let me know in the comments below. Thank you everyone for watching the video. Like and subscribe if you want more content. See ya!